Alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody, and welcome to the Nourishing Traditions. So I'm your host, Minam Jamil, and I'm a doctor of pharmacy, and I've been practicing alternate therapies in the past few years. I have with me Mariam. She's a health coach, and I would like all of you to keep your mics muted so that we can hear loud and clear. I welcome you all to the cancer webinar. And this is really a special webinar because not a lot of people are aware of the cancer alternate therapies. So consider yourself very lucky, what should I say? But we're going to go through Tom Cowan's cancer strategies, where I've taken this from his book, The Fourfold Healing Towards Your Health, and I can share it on the group, the name of the book. So we will look at the suggested meals, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4 cancer therapies. These are alternate therapies. And Tom Cowan is an MD doctor, but he's been trained in anthroposophical medicine. That's a kind of a different field which was practiced hundreds of years ago, and now it's no more so famous. But looking at cancer, we think of cancer, we're going to metaphorize it with terrorism. This is just for your understanding that cancer cells, we look at them as something which, how we look at the terrorists. And since 9/11, the world has taken on a different hue where Americans have put these new glasses and they rather force everybody to look at the world in a different perspective when we speak of violence spreading from somewhere over there, and it's metastasizing to our shores, and it's kind of migrating from this some country, and now it's gonna hurt the whole population and it's gonna kill the whole world. So we treat cancer cells in the same way, where we sometimes forget that there is a social, environmental, economic disadvantage to certain groups which bear a disproportionate burden of cancer compared to the other groups. And what are the reasons for that? We're going to look into it. So comparing war on terrorism with war on cancer, we see that while the search goes on for terrorism, we just scratch our heads and think, who are the real terrorists? So when we compare, we just see that the government defines these terrorists as terrorists, and they just root them out by lethal force, not caring about the collateral damage. And when we fight cancer, we just fight it in a way where we don't care about the healthy cells in our body, and we just want to get rid of all of them with one radiation or chemotherapies. With post pain and side effects, such side effects which in turn causes a healthy cell to undergo mutations. So I don't know, like if we talk about, if this is a spiritual group and we talk about Hamas, is Hamas a terrorist group, or are they just fighting for a homeland for Palestinians? Or are the fundamental Christians which oppose the secular government, are they terrorists? And can we really draw a line between terrorism and free-thinking citizens? So in the same way, when we talk about cancer, we just track down and destroy them, or we just attack the whole body with one single poison. So we see the main causes. They can be fundamental causes, which are bad food, social isolation, perhaps most importantly, the environment destruction and the poisoning of every piece of earth, every drop of water with these carcinogens and chemicals. And then when we start figuring out the cause of hunger, isolation, injustice in human society, we kind of link these factors to the breakdown of communication between us And this is exactly how the cancer cells, they work in the body, that they reduce the communication between cells, because our body is an integrated organ and one organ has to connect with the other. And that's what the cancer cells do. They just don't want them to connect. So types of cancers are tumor forming, non-tumor forming, and others are just harmless cysts. And non-tumor forming are blood cancers, which can just flow in the blood. There are leukemias, and mostly when a body just starts this rapid growth of cells, and it's kind of healing itself. When you get a cut on your arm or anywhere on the body, and you see the body's making the scar, the platelets come forward, and it just self-heals. And that process is quite rapid. The other types of cancers are fast-growing and indolent cancers, which are harmless. And fast-growing can be highly aggressive, and the indolent ones, they can be just there for a couple of years and you're fine with it. You might be carrying it unknowingly and you're fine. So this is a quote, an excerpt from Ivan Illich's book. He wrote a book on deschooling society, and this, if somebody wants to read from you guys, you can unmute your mind and go ahead, or if not, I can read it. He was a priest, and he was born and raised in Germany, and he was arguing against industrialized society and how it impairs the quality of life, over medicalizing life, and pathologizing normal conditions. But Mariam, are you there if you want to read it? I just want somebody to read it.
Happy to read it, but I have got some background noise.
Oh, that's fine. Fine. Don't worry.
Yes, we suffer pain. We become ill, we die, but we also hope, laugh, celebrate. We know the joy of caring for one another. Often we are healed and we recover by many means. We do not have to pursue a flattering the flattening out of human experience. I invite all the shift their gaze, their thoughts, from worrying about healthcare to cultivating the art of living. And today, with equal importance, the art of suffering, the art of dying.
Yeah, so indirectly, it's more about embracing cancer and, dying with dignity. So this guy, he has some amazing ideas, and you can find him online. So let's look at some of the cancer personality traits, because a lot of people, this has some scientific evidence as well. Some people, they internalize their emotions and they've got difficulty in expressing themselves. And they are people pleasing, they take things too personally. And if we empathize with others, there are some people, especially in the paramedical staff, when they start listening to their patients and when they start empathizing, they just subconsciously get attracted to diseases. And if we put it another way, it's a kind of altruism that runs through the cells of a healthy body. Altruism is just a moral principle where somebody wants to service other people unselfishly, and they just forget about themselves. So for the welfare and happiness of others in both material and spiritual life, they will just totally ignore themselves, and they kind of, subjugate their own needs for the health of the whole organism. This is the cell on a cellular level. The approach will be that the body will just subjugate for certain people to grow, or certain cells, cancer cells, to grow. And the psychology will become that many cancer patients, they are in grief because of losing their lives, or their some of the survivors would be in a fear of reoccurrence. There are a lot of depression reasons because of probably, losing a body organ, or just change, disfigurement in the body, how the body looks. So other reasons, we don't know. Losing loved ones, or losing people in your life when they find out you've got cancer and they just leave you and go. So kind of isolated, getting isolated, you lose your self-esteem. But there is, subhanAllah, scientific evidence and background where people saw that a commitment to spiritual practices, like, or a commitment to organized religion, any religion, whatever, Islam basically, or whatever religion you follow, a pure commitment to it showed that such people, they survived longer periods, subhanAllah, and they improved their quality of life through strong social support network, adaptive coping. It lessened their depression. And so, yeah. If we move on to the real reasons of cancers, we can't really tell unless everything now is labeled on genes. And from more books, I can quote you, inshallah, on the group, which we have evidences that genes can adapt themselves according to the environment we put them in. And so what are the real errors, or what really causes the host to generate such kinds of genes, and what causes a faulty DNA? Oncologists, they can't really explain whether the onset of cancer originates from within the cell, from DNA, or from something caused by the host, or the environment which causes the DNA to go bonkers, crazy. But it's mostly an adaptive change, which is self-initiated, and we can control it. Now, when we look at an independent growth, we just see that. Can you please mute your mic? I can't do it from here. So if we look at, this is an example of a liver cell. And for example, the liver cell just decides to go on its own and just start multiplying, just start growing, having an independent growth. And it doesn't want to subjugate to the mandate, or to the instruction given by the DNA. It doesn't want to follow anything which the normal cells are following. It just has its own ideas, and it just starts multiplying. It's like a rebellion, And until it will start multiplying, until the whole body kinds of turns into its own type. So we take an example of a liver. The liver cells, they communicate with the GIT, they communicate with the kidneys, they communicate with the brain cells. They are in constant organized communication to maintain the health of the body. And for most people, this activity can go on for their lifetime, until something happens and snap, everything changes. And one of them just decides to go in this active rebellion, and it's not going to follow the DNA. So if you look at interdependence literally just means that a healthy human being whose cells are communicating with each other, they're integrated. That's what integrated medicine come from. And it disinclined to break away. It stays with its body, it follows the body. It doesn't assume a life of its own. So I just want to ask that this war on cancer, which began with a great fanfare in 1970s, and the goal was to fully finance the research, go into the causes and treatment, and to eradicate the disease in 10 to 15. Now, when we see that the prognosis has hardly budged, and the oncologists, they've got no idea where to you know, how does this erratic way of growing cells, or what causes the DNA changes, what commands the genes to do so. It starts killing its own host, and a host which is providing its own sustenance. Right. Yeah. So Dr. Lloyd was one of the founders of cancer immunology, where his career, I think it's kicked off in 1956 or something. And it's been around 67 years or more where they've been working on finding such kind of treatments for cancer where the drug or the treatment can tag the cancer cells and leave alone the healthy cells. So the chemotherapy can't do that, radiation can't do that. But yeah, we've got hope from immunology perspective that it can do it without the need of letting the whole immune system to collapse and get weakened. And the cancer patient is prone to other kind of infections and diseases, nosocomial infections, viral infections, just name it. So cancer immunotherapy, it attempts to stimulate an immune response to destroy the tumor cells only. And in the past 100 years, they've been researching drugs which have been successful with only 20 to 30% efficacy, until just recently FDA approved 2 years back in 2021 dostarlimab, which is an antibody, monoclonal antibody, which has 100% efficacy. And it just destroyed cancer cells and shrunk them in all the 14 patients. It was really good in endometrial cancers. But this was, again, something not natural. They humanized mouse antibody by genetic engineering and CDR grafting, and they found 100% results. So I hope that if Dr. Lloyd was alive, I would have asked him then what was the whole full-scale assault on cells and tumors. Was it misguided? Was chemotherapy even, was it dangerous, or was it futile, or was it worthful to really put your energies and resources attacking the symptoms of the problem? But anyways, so chemotherapy, it kills quite a healthy immune cells, and it can make a person, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes. Minam, can you please accept those who are waiting in the waiting list?
Oh, yeah, sure. Sorry. Okay. Is it done? Yeah. So, yeah. I hope you guys are with me. If you've got any questions, just pop in the chat. And inshallah, Mariam can pass me those questions. Yeah, Jazakallah khair, Aisha, for letting us know. So, yeah. So back to, do we really have to treat cancer cells with poisons, and such poisons which just reduce the normal immunity for a person, so much so that he's prone to so many infections, which can become one of the causes of death, if not cancer, then some other cause. And the worst thing is that with a weakened immune system is what we really don't want in a cancer patient. We want a balanced immune system. We don't really want a boosted immune system. We don't want a highly weakened immune system. We want a balanced immune system, and we want the cells to decide it themselves, the body to decide it themselves, how it wants to balance it. If the number of immune cells are really high, it can lower them. If the number of immune cells are very low, it can increase them. Then strengthening their function, improving the ability to recognize the tumor cells and kill them. That's the body's job. And that's how we train a body. For example, we say that give a man a fish and he eats it for a day. But if we teach him to fish, he's going to eat it for the rest of his life. So that's the self-defense we want to teach the body, how to automatically detect the cells and kill them. So when we talk about life forces here just means our belief system, our vitality, our belief in the existence of vital energy. And what we conclude after 50 years of a strategy that attempts to kill every cell in the cancerous cell tumor or in the body is just leading us to a reduced immune system. And what doctors say is that the person can be restored to health, but unfortunately, this occurs far less often than people realize it. And we just need to think that if this approach is working because of the treatment is so aggressive, or the tumor was slow growing, or the tumor was relatively harmless in the first place, and there are lots of false negatives, false positives, and yeah. When we would want to talk about the body detecting its own cells and, kind of getting rid of the dysfunctional cells, we come across this term autophagy. And autophagy, or if somebody of you've come across intermittent fasting or been doing intermittent fasting, so you know that autophagy is a metabolic process which is induced by starvation, and it literally just means self-eating. So you remove the body itself, it recognizes dysfunctional abnormal cells, it removes them, recycles them, repairs them, regenerates them, and this is like a reset button. So just imagine any toxic protein, any DNA, anything which attributes to cancer or neurodegenerative diseases, especially Alzheimer's and other diseases. The body can go into autophagy, and we can induce it by diet and other things, intermittent fasting. It just prompts the regeneration of healthy cells. It just the faulty proteins go back, we use their material, and then we create the functional healthy proteins. So it promotes survival adaptation as a response to various stressors and toxins accumulated in our cells. Now, I want to introduce a new term for cancer, and I want to call it a winter experience. Because this is from the perspective of a natural world where we see that the body is very cold, it freezes to death, and a lot of people with lifelong history of having a low body temperature, they're prone to cancers. Not necessarily, but this is from the data we see. And the arteries or one of the organs, the tumor itself, it's quite a hard mineralized kind of lump, and we call it sclerosis, just a thickening and hardening of a body part, like an artery. So I want to metaphorize it with, and the ancient people, they understood the characteristics of winter. So because they didn't have well heated homes like us, and they knew that when the sun recedes, so when it's the heat and the sun, it's kind of pulling back, and we go in this hibernation, an inward or self-reflection time, and it's always gloomy, miserable, barren, desolate, foreboding kind of a situation. There's a plant which grows in winter, it grows in summers, it grows all seasons, despite of any season. It's a semi-parasitic plant, the mistletoe plant, and it lives off other trees like apple tree, hawthorn, lime, poplar, conifers, and the berries, they bear seeds. So what does it really do? Mistletoe has these hostorias which kind of suck the juice of its host the same way as cancer does. and it grows in all directions, regardless of light, dark, grows all year round. And if you want to look in the cells of mistletoe, they literally go into the host and suck the juice. So from a study, and I've got other research papers as well, I can share the link with you on the group. John Hopkins, it showed mistletoe extracts. By the way, this mistletoe is probably 1,000 years old medicine. And recently, the allopathic medicine, they've started doing clinical trials on it. They haven't patented it. And they saw 100% efficacy, improved quality of life. What do I really know? What do I want to say by when I say improved quality of life? It just means you don't get any adverse side effects where the patient is psychologically affected and he's into these infections, other kind of infections, he's prone to other kind of infections, or where he needs other paramedical staff to take care of him, nursing, or somebody at home to take care of him. So how does mistletoe really work? And this medicine has been used in Europe for several decades as a complementary medicine approach to cancer, either combined with chemotherapy or alone. And they saw.
Can I ask a question? Here it says that the 3 participants. How many participants were there in the study? Just to have an idea.
In this one, there were 3, and there are many studies. In one of the studies, which I'll be sharing with you, there were 14 participants. And you see, when they say that there's not enough scientific data for a drug which is thousands of years old, so you can just imagine itself, like the drugs which they've been started making, they're 200 years old. So which one would have more scientific data? You know, they've got the data. You see? And we're going to come through it. Most of the side effects you see with mistletoe are fatigue, nausea, chills, and high fever, which in fact just shows that the immune system is working and it's responding to the drug.
Okay, thank you.
So how does the mistletoe really works? It just enforces the body's own immune cells, the natural killer cells, to kind of tag those tumor cells and let the cell itself, you know, undergo suicide. It's called cell lysis, like apoptosis or necrosis. And it reduces metastasis. It doesn't allow the tumor to grow from one place to another. Migratory invasive potential of the tumor, it reduces that. And this is amazing. Like it down regulates the central genes. So there's one drug you got hundreds of years ago, which was already working on your genes, and it was reducing tumor progression, malignancy, cell migration. Cell migration is just metastasis in a way. And plus, it is selectively killing the cancer cells. So it's not killing the healthy cells. It's just killing selectively the cancer cells, which is an amazing thing. I think this is what the FDA really needs to think about patenting it, inshallah. I hope it will. And another thing you see, it balances the immune response. So it just tells your immune response, look for yourself. If you find interferons, they are actually the cells which are involved in viral diseases. So any cell of the body starts releasing interferons when it sees that there's danger, when it senses danger, when it sees a viral or something foreign is coming in. So this kind of response is a body's own response. You don't have to, you know, give something from the outside, a phony interferon to kill everything in the body. And it downregulates cancer genes, as we saw before, and no collateral damage. It rather restores the healthy communication between the cells. So ladies, are you okay, or you want a break before we go on the 4 phases? I hope you're with me, not bored.
No, we're fine.
Escador is one drug which is actually a fermented form of mistletoe extract. And Escador is the one which you get from licensed practitioners, which can be found through the Leda company. I'll share it on the link on the group. Don't worry about it. So they are the producers of Escador, which is made in Germany, and their clinics are worldwide in Europe, UK, and these are licensed clinics, so you can trust them, inshallah. In the phase 1 treatment of Escador, we just introduce a very low dose, and what we really want to do is induce fever in the patient up to 100 Fahrenheit. And we see that this fever causes 1 to 2 centimeters of patches on the skin. And these patches, they are red, and they just determine the right dose for the patient. So it's a kind of a side effect, but it's a side effect which shows that the Escador, it's working. And we do this for 6 months, 3 times per week. And it's a 6 months of treatment. And when this is done, there's no change in tumor, then we make changes in the type of Escador or the frequency of Escador. So I just gave you an overall, thing, but the real thing, it changes from patient to patient. It depends how your physician deals with it. But this is how mainly it is. And the second is vitamin D. All of us, we know the importance of vitamin D because of the development of muscles, health, nervous system. Nervous system is what we really want to preserve. We want to preserve our immune system. We want to develop the resistance to illnesses. And these kind of systems, when they work together, it just, it helps the body to detect the cancer and kill it itself. And this is where we want to come. And as we metaphorized cancer lately, just with the winter experience, so we want sun as a summer therapy, right? It's a summer therapy, the opposite. That's why we're inducing fevers. There's a reason behind it, just to, stimulate the immune cells, that there's something in the body. So over the past 50 years, there have been numerous studies documented on the role of vitamin D. And I'm not going to go in detail. All of you know about it, but mainly it's just the skin, which connects with the liver, and the liver connects with the kidney. And what we're looking at is vitamin D3, which comes from the sun, which comes from fish and other meals. We really want to avoid vitamin D2 because it's just a supplement, and it doesn't really absorb calcium. And we want 25 hydroxy called calciferol, which comes from the body's self-generated, from sun, natural sources, it's a fat-soluble vitamin. So it's going to be available in the fatty meals, such as cod liver oil and other things. We're gonna see the nutrition part of it. But what we want to focus on is calcium is only absorbed by the natural vitamin 25 hydroxy called calciferol. And we want to take that calcium from our diet, sun, and other things I said, because this kind of vitamin, it helps the cells to divide in a proper functional way, in a healthy way. And apoptosis is another term where the natural process of a self-destruction by the enzymes which are released from the cell. And when they sense that the mitosis or the cell division is not properly going on, there's something abnormal in it. So it just lets the cell undergo apoptosis. It just means, in simple words, suicide of the cell, which is generated by the cell itself. And when we see that the cells, they get damaged because of either toxins, radiation, or other toxic foods or anything, the environmental toxins or the toxins going in our body. So we've got a regulated, balanced immune system to figure this out and to work for the body to heal it. So it's kind of a genetically programmed cells. They do it by itself. It's genetically programmed. But mind you, that cancer cells are so clever that they can escape apoptosis. So you would be either needing a very good high fat in your diet, which provides you vitamin D, or really good routine, a circadian rhythm, which goes with the sun, and other things. Inshallah, this Dr. Reinhold Waite, he has his whole research in vitamin D, and he was the one who brought the importance of vitamin D into the allopathic world. And he's got some amazing research. I can share this with you as well. There's so much linked things, which inshallah I will be sharing everything, don't worry. And these are the doses. He said that if you want your normal range to be within 60 to 80 nanograms per ml, this is the right dose or the range for 25 hydroxy cholecalciferol. If you want it to be in this range, you need 1000 IU of cod liver oil. An amazing syrup is from Carlson's. It's Norwegian salmon with other things, and they've got amazing. I mean, it's not the farmed salmon; it's the wild river salmon. So you understand the difference. The farm salmon is, they put a net and they can't swim, and the wild river is just there all the day. They can swim any direction. And along with that, when we want calcium to be absorbed, so we take a good calcium supplement, definitely avoiding the synthetic tablet form. And you can look into it as this one. We're looking for this one. There are a lot of isomers for vitamin D, and we want this one, which really comes from sunlight, thermal energy, and the fatty food. And we don't want D2. This is not what we want. So moving on to the third one, it's mushroom extracts. These mushroom extracts.
Sorry, can I just ask a question about vitamin D? The one
yes,
that
sure.
we buy from the pharmacies, it's written vitamin D3. So
yeah.
Is the correct one?
Can you look into the generic name, the scientific name?
Of the vitamin D3?
Yeah.
Yes.
And if not, then you need to be a bit careful. Like sometimes when they put titanium dioxide, just avoid that brand. And the syrup form, it's really good because the syrups, they dissolve and they absorb well. And the tablets, they take time to be dissolved, and it depends on the pH of the stomach for the tablet. So we're not sure if it's gonna get absorbed. Depends on what pH of the stomach is it?
So the name should be cholecalciferol?
Yes, 25 hydroxy cholecalciferol, CHOCALICE, calciferol.
Okay, so this is vitamin D3. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure.
Good, that's the right product. Fine, inshallah. So, and for mushrooms, we've got a lot of variety, but the main is the shiitake mushroom, that's Japanese. And mushrooms are involved, again, in protecting the liver. And the liver is the main detoxification organ. We want to protect the liver. A cancer patient's liver has to be working perfectly fine. And why? Because it has to detox all the chemotherapy drugs, it has to detox so many toxins in the body and eliminate it from the right path out. So liver is one thing which is protected by mushrooms, and mushrooms have immune strengthening properties as well. Because you see mushrooms, they grow in places which are dark in shady, and they work their magic on this digesting the rotting the wood until the wood it becomes humus, and that humus is used by the trees which are seeking light. So there's again a connection of light, darkness, and then when they're mushrooms, they're good in digesting the rotten compost. It's the same way we want our body to kind of get rid of those tumor cells and just digest them and detoxify them or shrink them. So that's one link also with mushrooms. And this is one of the product, which I'm not actually advocating any product, but these were mentioned in the book. And MediHerb is one of the companies which really make good unadulterated herbal preparations. And one of them is Ganodermal shiitake. Or if you find mushrooms, you can just directly eat them. Then the fourth one is Immunoplex. Now, what really is Immunoplex? In 1930s, sorry? Okay. In 1930s, when Dr. Royal Lee, he was working on cell growth, how the cell grows. And he formulated supplements of animal, which were derived from animal products and plant products. And they could heal the immune system, and virtually every organ in the body is a self-healing. It has those self-healing properties, and it has, instead, like what he says is, instead of having an immune system, we are an immune system. So if we just help the body to heal itself, it can act as an immune system for every cell. This is not only the spleen or only the bone marrow. Every cell knows or can undergo these suicidal processes, apoptosis, autophagy, and other things which we saw, that it can just, let itself die for maintaining the health of the whole organism. And he saw that there is a mixture of protomorphogens. And what really are protomorphogens? Protomorphogens, they are not the DNA, they're not the RNA, they're rather nucleoproteins, or they are a kind of the last element of the chromosome, which just helps the cells to create the nucleus for the replication of healthy cells. So in a way, we're providing the cells of our body protomorphogens to replicate healthy cells. And how does that happen? It's, as I said, it's a nucleoprotein, and it doesn't contain any kind of genetic material. If you see that a person suffering from prostate cancer, you're going to give him the protomorphogen of prostate organs. If he's suffering from memory or breast cancer, he's going to be given the breast or memory PMG protomorphogens. And specific protomorphogens, they help restore the disturbed tissue to its proper form. And there are also articles on it, scientific articles on it, and inshallah I will share all the articles with you, and they're really interesting. So this is a Standard Process, is another herbal company. They make very good unadulterated and very old company in herbs. Now we move on. We're still on phase 1, and this is the last. Because every individual, we look at them as different from everyone. Somebody they would respond to chemotherapy in a different way as another or other lady or other woman. And some people, they will undergo digestive problems, the gallbladder and liver, hormonal problems in prostate and breast cancer, endometrial cancers. Then some people, they would be having lymphatic issues, leukemia and other lymph issues. So these are some of the herbs which really help with all of these. And we need to just see, or we can tailor them. The doses can be tailored. The herbs, whichever you're suffering from, it can be chosen according to your choice. And normally, if you use the whole mixture, you just take 4 to 5 herbs at around a dose of 1 to 2 tablespoons 2 times a day. Now, these doses, they are not particularly like the dose for everybody. It can be tailored according to each patient. And you can personally, inshallah, ask me as well which dose for which patient, depends on the BMI and a lot of things. You need to take the whole history, inshallah. This is phase 2. Now we're moving to phase 2. Now, why do we really have phases? We just got phases because in phase 1, we want to see the patient for about 6 months if the cancer shrinks or not. But if we see PSA are just prostate specific antigens, which are for prostate males, cancer patients, where the PSA starts increasing, that's a sign the cancer is not shrinking. Or for example, if there is a breast cancer patient and for 3 years, the cancer was absolutely gone, but it relapsed after 3 years. So now what strategy are you going to go to? And, there are different kinds of relapses. Sometimes we teach the patient to fish, right? But sometimes we have to feed him fish or just provide him fish to further help him. And one of these is melatonin. Now, melatonin, all of you, I'm sure you would be aware of it. It releases at night. It has to deal with sleep, and the pineal gland releases it. The pineal gland itself is the third eye of your senses. Third eye literally just means it has to do or deal with spirituality. Now, if you remember in the previous slides, we saw that spirituality, and when committing yourself to an organized group or organized religion, helps you deal with your illnesses, not only cancer, a lot of illnesses. And one of the reasons is a healthy pineal gland. And pineal gland is situated deep inside our brain. So it's like a curious organ. It has nothing to do with vision. And studies conducted about 20 years ago, it shows that melatonin, it not only participates in sleep response, but also has a profound effect on our overall well-being by being connected with the pineal gland. So sometimes when people, they sleep, especially nowadays, the room is not properly dark. It's not properly, even if you've got the cell phone on, or if there's a little light in the background, that can affect your pineal gland. And it just same like thyroid. With thyroid hormones, they reduce gradually through certain years of time. The pineal gland also, the melatonin reduces through years of time practicing these, lifestyle sins and not sleeping in properly dark rooms. It just happens gradually. So we need to be careful that we sleep at proper time, we wake up at proper time, we have a proper circadian rhythm, we sleep in a dark room, well darkened, quiet room. And this eventually reduces inflammation, it enhances our immune response. And this intervention, it makes a huge difference in the patient's sense of well-being. Others are digestive enzymes. The digestive enzymes here, it doesn't mean that it's going to help you digest your food, but rather, William Kelly, he was a dentist, and this is 50 years old story where he was finding a cure for his own pancreatic cancer, and he came across that in his cancer tumors, the tumor cells were surrounding themselves with a protective layer. And this protective coating, the tumor was shielding itself from the immune response of the body. So he came up with this formula of Vobenzym, where he saw the tumor's protective layer was kind of, digesting out. It was dissolving. And these digestive enzymes, they just treat the tumors which surround themselves with protective coating. So it's a natural process. It doesn't have to do anything with your meals, or it doesn't encourage digestion of food. It's a broad spectrum plant and animal enzyme which works on the tumor's protective coating and kinds of, releases the tumor from its base. And then there is Eziac. Eziac teas are very normally sipped by by cancer patients, and they're, again, Chinese medicine. It's thousands of years old. It's got good result. But if you want it in tablet form, this is the tablet form. And burdock complex contains about 4 herbs in approximately a certain ratio. This is the original formula. They've got 4 herbs: barb, burdock, sheep sorrel, and slippery elm. It depends from patient to patient. Can't label everybody with the same drug, or you can't prescribe them the same thing. Depends what conditions you are in, what symptoms you've got. And in herbal oncology, there have been aloe vera gel for cancer in stomach, liver, colon, pancreas. And according to a very famous website, WebMD, there isn't enough reliable information for astragalus. Now, again, I just ask them, astragalus is like thousands of years old drug. Why don't you have enough reliable information on it? So, don't know. There's a lot of scientific evidence which can be taken out from these drugs, which are thousands of years old. And there is a lot of evidence. So moving on to the phase 3. Now we finished phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 3 is again for more aggressive cancers, cancers which are not treated well enough, or they're not showing any kind of response to all the therapies, even to chemotherapy, mistletoe. Then Escador is actually itself a fermented mistletoe, but the doses are different. So you increase the dose, and you kind of change the frequencies of injection. Then you change the source of mistletoe, because we saw that mistletoe, it grows on different kind of hosts. And mostly we see the oak tree for men. That Escador is called Escador quercus. It also depends on the type of lectins present in the brand. So you see there are very different kinds of things. And I'm going to share a PDF on Escador from a German company, which has a lot of question and answers answered there. So a lot of queries will be covered in there. You've got a lot of homework after this, sorry. I can't put everything together because there's so much information. So for women, there's apple tree coming from a mistletoe growing on apple tree. And for men, there is oak tree. I'm not going into the doses, as this is from the licensed physicians and they can help you with it. The last one is interleukin-2 therapy. The first time interleukins, they came into the market, they were approved in 1992. Now, it's such a shame. Sorry, I might be, I might be bashed by the FDA people after this, but it's such a shame. 100 years of research, millions of dollars in this cancer treatment, finding out the proper cure for cancer, and the prognosis is not moved. The more millions of people dying there with cancer, but coming out with the interleukin-2 in 1992. Whereas interleukin-2 was already in alternate therapies for around decades ago. And interleukin-2, it increases the growth and activity of T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. So it just helps your immune system to function properly, tag the tumor cells as we studied for, and it's a specific immune response. And for this, if you put the patient on interleukin-2 therapy, which is phase 4, the last therapy, then you have to stop all the previous therapies, especially echinacea. You can just probably at least put a patient on echinacea herbal tea or tablets for a month and then stop. And all the previous escadors, they need to be discontinued. Then you come on a high dose interleukin-2 therapy. Because in previous phases, we saw we were just stimulating the immune response. And in these phases, in the later phases, we are giving an immune response, just like we taught the boy how to fish, but now we're nourishing him, we're providing him the fish. So these interleukin-2s, they are amazing. They've got scientifically backed, this is scientifically researched in 1992, 100% efficacy in kidney cancers and melanomas. Melanomas are for skin or the mucous membranes cancers. This is the last session of this talk, inshallah. We're going to look into the nutrition. And these are some ideas of breakfast for a cancer patient. You know what we should really ignite in a patient is, as healthcare practitioners, we should ignite them, or we should help them to improve their diet, improve their lifestyle, come out of these lifestyle sins. And all of the new year resolutions or something, you know, people, they make these, I'm gonna do this, and then they kind of just, you know, slow down. But these really, they entail profound changes, especially a transition from a chaotic diet, which is based on convenience food, sugars, fast food, or a very strict low fat diet, going to a really strict low fat vegetarian regime is sometimes, because, you know, we need the natural fat soluble vitamins from our meal. And that's why we come to these healthy, satisfying diet, which is consumed at a well-established intervals throughout the day. So we take the breakfast ideas as preferably pasture-fed eggs. I know it's not easy for everybody to get these kind of eggs, but if you're taking it for a patient or for your loved one, I'm sure you want to invest in it. And whole grain sourdough bread. There's one sister on the Nourishing Traditions, Akila. She makes amazing sourdough breads, and inshallah we can get her one day. Coconut butter, cultured butter, biodynamic oats. Now, but what is biodynamic? Biodynamic is just that those vegetables which are organic, and it's a kind of farming system where you don't use pesticides, chemicals. Now, commercially, the whole market is coming towards organic, but still there are some limited options in Qatar. Other areas of the world, you get it easily. Sauerkraut, beet kvass, these are some of the vegetables which are preserved in brine, salty water. And even though some vegetables, you can drink their water, or when you boil vegetables or you steam vegetables, the water which is left at the bottom, you can drink that, you know, cool it and drink it. It's full of minerals, super healthy. So raw egg yolk, smoothies of raw egg yolk, molasses, you get amazing molasses of Roman, a pomegranate molasses in Arab cultures. It's used frequently in liver. The Lebanese liver, if you're aware of, they this pomegranate molasses. So the snack ideas are a homemade cream cheese mixed with 1 teaspoon of flaxseed oil. Just don't be put off by these hard words. Quark is just a cheese with flaxseed mixed with flaxseed oil, and that kind of flaxseed. You easily find this kind of flaxseed which is cold expressed, so it's not processed, and it's easily available. I've seen it in a couple of markets here. A mixture of soaked or sprouted seeds. You can take normal seeds from the market, just soak them for 6 hours, and here you are. And if you roast them, they will turn crispy. Again, lacto-fermented vegetables. You can make lacto-fermented vegetables at home with your brine, salt, water. Preferably, Celtic salt is the best, or a sea salt. If you don't find Celtic salt, go for Himalayan or sea salt. Lunch, again, homemade vegetable soup made with chicken, beef. I have a YouTube video on a bone broth recipe. Got one really good Asian style bone broth recipe there. A large salad with chunks of pasture-fed meat, if you get pasture-fed meat, or you get free-range chicken. Sandwich of sourdough bread, again, whole grain preferably. Sprouted beans. It's very easy to make sprouted beans at home. And I've got a video on this as well, but you just take beans, soak them, and you see the tiny sprouts coming out. So that's the time to eat them. And that's amazing, super healthy. Why? Because the beans themselves, they release a digestive enzyme, which helps to digest the beans. So, you get well-digested proteins just ready to be absorbed by your stomach. I got a really good, this all is protein-rich diet with lacto-fermented vegetables full of minerals. And dinner can be, again, according to your availability. If you've got animal foods, vegetables, whatever vegetables, and pasture-fed preferably, but I understand it's not easy. Dessert is based on a fresh seasonal fruit. These times mangoes are here. So mangoes and cream, strawberries and cream. And last but not the least is, for us as Muslims, go to Ruqya and Hijama. And I've seen some of the stories. They've not done anything, just Ruqya and Hijama, and their cancer was shrunk. So this is the end of this presentation. If you've got any questions, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum, Inam.
Walaikum assalam, Buruj.
Just a sorry, a quick question regarding the sprouted beans. When we sprout them, I always wonder, do we eat the the sprouts separately on the salads, or we just eat with the beans, or we cook beans separately once they're sprouted?
Wow, that's an amazing question, because it really depends. If some people who sprout the whole grain of wheat, so they dry or they sun dry the wheat, and then they grind it, and they make chapati and roti out of it, including the sprout. And for the beans, you've seen people eating the sprout in salads. That's right. But I'm not really sure if you should eat it together. I think they should be eaten together, because coming from a nutritional background, they release the digestive enzymes for the bean to be digested properly, and these nutritive enzymes, which are the beans, if you just eat them unsoaked, they've got an enzyme which will not digest them. So you see, soaking is so important.
Yeah, amazing.
And I think they should be together. from my personal perspective, probably I can look into the book and then let you know.
Yeah, because lentils normally we don't really eat them raw, you see. Like if you sprout lentils, like green lentils, or so I don't know how to consume them.
And the sprout doesn't have to be like a very big sprout with the seedling in it. It can be just a tiny root. If you even see a tiny root coming out, that's enough.
And then we cook them or we eat them raw?
Cook them, yeah. You can cook them, put them in soups, brine them. And the raw ones are, which ones can you eat raw? The green beans, is it?
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
So.
The raw, I've never heard of raw, but maybe if somebody knows here. Mariam, is she there? I go to Mariam if I don't have the answer.
Alhamdulillah. In my case, personally, I like eating raw only from the seeds, sprouted seeds, not sprouted beans. Sprouted seeds are quite gentle, especially like broccoli sprouts, broccoli seed sprouts, or chia sprouts. It's like, they're very good. They're very gentle. You can add it in this salad. A bit crunch, a bit nice. I mean, it's really nice. But about the beans, I definitely personally cook them because as we know, all the beans and most of the vegetables, they do have some lectins in it. And lectins are their defensive mechanism. So even if they're sprouted, there's still some percentage of lectins which can be eliminated while cooking.
So they can, do lectins, they degenerate during heat? Or they're okay in cooking?
Some percentage, yes. Some percentage, yes.
Yeah, so we need lectins to fight the tumor. That's really good. Amazing. And Zara is saying raw sprouts. Raw sprouts taste good, yeah. Lady Zara Khan here, you can get in touch with her for Ruqya and Hijama. She's a licensed practitioner. And sugar, somebody's asking, is sugar really a food for cancer cells and promotes their growth? Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. I should have put a whole chapter of sugar and cancer, but I just avoided it because when we talk about healthy food, we automatically know we're going to avoid sugar, white sugar especially. But maple syrup, honey, raw honey, that's all fine. But if you're treating cancer and you're during your treatments, I would suggest avoid fructose, sugar from really sweet fruits. Yeah, just all together, because one cancer cell consumes around 35 times more sugar than a normal cell, and it grows fast. Cancer is a fast growing cell, so it needs more energy, it needs more sugar to be, doing all that. Just don't provide it. We're going to provide it something which the cancer cell hates, and we're not going to give it something which it likes. That's an amazing question. Any more questions, ladies? Kauthar, you had some questions, and there were some questions on WhatsApp.
Yes, but my questions are specific, so I'm not sure if
it's okay. I think it will help, unless there's some. Yeah.
If there are some personal questions, if you wish, we can actually switch off the recording and go on with that.
No, I don't mind. It's not like it's not that I know. It's just I don't want to, bother everybody else. But the question was, you said, I'll tell you on the phase 1 or 2, which things are specific to certain type of cancers. And so what is really good for lymphoma?
Lymphoma.
Yeah, which is kind of blood related. It's a cancer in the limbs.
Lymphoma is in the limbs, yeah. Is it metastasized? Or is it?
I mean, it's kind of aggressive right now.
Yeah, because mistletoe extract really has 100% efficacy in especially non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and we have a study on it. because
But the herbs, the natural things, because you know, mistletoe needs to go somewhere else, which is complicated. But at least
yeah.
the preventive, or not the preventive, the kind of in
You know,
the
I think if you really get in touch with one of the physicians, that's better because they can guide you. And
okay.
if they do telehealth, like they do distant health, maybe they can even guide you and send you the drugs and then guide you online. But you have to be in touch with a licensed practitioner.
So you said you're also going to put the places
Yes, yes.
in the
In the
slides.
group, yes. I will send all the links and all the
Thank you so much.
contacts. Yeah,
It was like
no
a little
worries.
final.
Somebody is asking, is there any data or evidence available to support the idea that natural remedies can cure? Yes, there is a lot of data, and I'm going to share it with you, as I said. And they said, Mona is asking if a cancer patient has BRCA, the breast cancer genes mutation, is it possible to cure cancer by fixing the gene through natural remedies or changes in lifestyle? Yes, it is possible. And most of the cancer patients, they realize it after they're diagnosed with cancer. But if you know prevention is better than cure, and genes, they adapt according to the environment. And there is a book on it. I can inshallah share that book with you, in which they've shown how you change the environment for the gene in a petri dish, like in a lab. You change the environment for a cell and how it changes its genes, how it changes the DNA. It's really interesting. If somebody tells you, oh, that person died of this genital disorder or something, there are a lot of things which the parents are doing, and it gets transferred into the children's genes, definitely. And if a parent is, for example, a smoker, he's going to pass through those defective genes onto the baby, and the baby, you know, if we try to accept our responsibility, if we change our environment, if we accept these as lifestyle sins, we try to change it, we're definitely going to give rise to healthy genes, not only for us, for our children, and for the future generations. So I'm going to pass a lot of information on genes, inshallah, if you're interested, or maybe we can do another webinar on genes. It's a huge topic. It's really interesting. For someone who had chemo, there's another question by Abu Bakr. For someone who had chemo and immunotherapy previously and had some reduction in cancer size, is natural remedy still beneficial for them? Is it safe for them to try the natural therapies alone? Now, I'm not advocating any natural therapy because, you know, this is a kind of an educational webinar. And natural therapies, yes, they are. The whole lifestyle, it does affect your cells, your genes, your DNA, everything, like we discussed. But cancer cells, they are fast growing. If they are fast growing, and the doctors have detected them as something fast growing, the natural therapies would be slow for them. Yeah. And if the size of the tumor is really enlarged, the natural therapies, it would be too late to pursue natural therapies. But high doses of escador and mistletoe extract would still help your body to cope up. And it's not about killing or combating or fighting the cells. You have to change your whole mentality when you think about cancer, dealing with cancer. It's more about letting your body find the right balance. You know, why does the body want to go in that rebellious state? So it's linked with the whole holistic approach. This is the holistic approach where you deal psychologically, you deal with him. If he has any issues with loved ones, you have to deal with him on one-to-one basis. And this is not a job only for oncologists, the whole family, the whole environment, and he himself, of course. So I hope, yeah.
Yeah, that's mashallah, that's really good what you mentioned, because I would like to add that stress is one, it's a big, it's a contributor to disease generally. you know. So having so the holistic approach to any disease, I would say, is the best approach. We have to take the whole, like, you know, the whole lifestyle
The whole
into account.
organism, exactly. Because what happens in chemotherapy, we are fighting down those cells, plus we're killing the healthy cells. And then you've got so many side effects to help cope up with the side effects. You give more drugs, you know, palliative treatments and pain and nausea. And why do you lose hair and why do you lose your nails? Because these are the fast growing cells in the body which are killed when you're killing tumor cells. So I think we need to change the whole perspective of looking at diseases. And this is not only for cancer, it's also for Alzheimer's, neurodegenerative diseases, which are linked with genes. And we pass on these genes to our generations. So the whole environment we have to look at. Any more questions, please ask. Don't hesitate to ask. Or we can wrap it up now. If everybody's okay. You've got a lot of homework, a lot of homework to read.
Everything, mashallah, is done. But you know, I mean, I was thinking, how can I connect what I am learning? So how I can connect these things with our sickness? So subhanallah, today I learned a lot. Yani everything, it comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we think like that, so there is acceptance, there is ibadah, right? If any kind of disease, cancer, anything, if we accept this is ibadah. And then as you are doing your job, mashallah. So this is the more thing, the gathering, if we're learning through this gathering, we learn a lot and we connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as the sister, she left for the prayer. So subhanallah, we all love from each other, you know. So
Yes.
these are the reminders we are giving each other, subhanallah, jazakallah khairan.
I love you all and I don't want to leave. I'm enjoying talking to you guys. But
Binam, there's a
inshallah,
question.
yes, please go ahead.
There's a question in the chat. Can the side effects of chemo and immune be reversed by natural therapies?
Yes, amazing question. That's cool. Because we saw mistletoe extracts, they were being given alongside in combination with chemotherapy and radiation. And the mistletoe was helping body to fight with the side effects of chemotherapy. So that was one kind of a thing which was practiced in these clinics. I'm going to send you the contact of, inshallah. And yeah, it was amazing. I mean, they didn't even let go chemotherapy. Okay, those patients who trust in chemotherapy, it's their belief system. We can't say don't go to chemo. Go to chemo, and you can also take your alternative mistletoe. And it was helping with the side effects of chemo. So it was amazing, yeah.
Can I have an addition?
Yeah, sure.
Another thing about another thing to help with the side effects of the chemotherapy that I've known is fasting, like going in autophagy, and going into chemotherapy in with the autophagy. It helps a lot. With some people have reported people who had stage 2 and stage 3, that actually shows in the research that they have attended chemotherapy being in autophagy state and had no side effects at all, no hair fall, no nausea or anything. So it really helped. Obviously, it has to
being in autophagy.
Yes.
So this is autophagy plus chemo.
Yeah, no plus chemo. It's like, you know, some people, they are in stage 3, they are desperate, right? So they have to go for chemo. But after chemo, they feel dreadful, awful. So to stop those side effects, it's like not to have nausea, not to have any headaches, like it's terrible headaches people are reporting. So not to have that, people are encouraged to actually go in a fasting stage. So you fast from the day before, or like, you know, and go in a fasting stage and go.
It's okay. I think her child's there distracting, but it's fine.
Yes.
Yeah. We're all moms here, we understand, Miriam.
Yep. Yeah. So that's another thing. I mean, I've heard of it. I just wanted to share it with
So
you.
this is when, during your chemotherapy, you're on fast. You're fasting.
Yes.
Like intermittent fasting.
It can be
With
dry fasting,
wet.
like
Okay.
Islamic fasting. It can be wet fasting, just on the water. Yeah, something like this.
That's great. Wow. Yeah.
Another thing I've heard, obviously, we're not advocating here anything, but obviously we're just sharing the information that we know.
Yeah.
It's carnivore diet, with, like, you know, alongside with green juices or green juice, not green smoothie, have also shown some good effects, with helping with the symptoms of cancer.
Carnivore diet with green juices.
Green juices.
Okay. Makes sense, absolutely. With mushrooms preferably, and yeah. So anybody else, shall we wrap up, or there's more? And Sister Zara, if you're still there, can you share your contact on the group so people who are interested?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. A thing about hijama. Okay. Those who want to get hijama done, and while they are going in chemo or radiations, I would certainly not advise while doing the radiations to go in for a hijama. Okay. And during chemo, there is a big time gap between 2 sessions. So when it is over 10 days, that's the time that a person can go for a chemo. Medico-legally, many practitioners will say, like, no, you're not fit for hijama because you're undergoing chemo. But it can be worked out. Okay. And
Yes.
I found patients, those who have come back from the 4th stage of cancer, which relapsed for the 2nd time with hijama, ruqya, and diet. Alhamdulillah. So, like, I have a very strong background to say, like, yes, these 3 things, like the diet, the natural therapies, ruqya definitely, and hijama does wonders for a cancer patient.
Definitely. My own mom, she was a breast cancer survivor, and now she's, mashallah, 20 years plus. It didn't relapse. And she was doing ruqya, hijama, and also, you know, the du'as, and she really strictly started following religious.
I don't do ruqya, but yes, definitely I can guide how to do it, what to read, and everything from authentic sources. And everything. Personally, I'm not a Raki. Yeah. I'm a therapist, a certified therapist, and all. I can do the therapies. I can give the like what to use and everything. But yeah, ruqya, if someone else can do, or the person themselves will do, that is going to be much better.
Perfect. Absolutely. Sister, by any chance, do you know Sister Kathleen?
Yes, I know.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. So inshallah, I'm trying to get her to do one webinar with me. If she's there, she can talk to us about ruqya and hijama. Inshallah.
Okay, inshallah.
Okay. So shall we wrap up, ladies? Everybody's good? She said in between intervals. Yeah. Is hijama safe for chemo patients? I think she said in the intervals.
Yeah.
Not on the days of
the therapist should be totally aware of the situation, like what chemo is going on and everything, to just the situation, because during chemo and radiation, the skin becomes very, very sensitive. So need to
Exactly.
assess it
You
very
can't.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So go to a practitioner who has pretty good knowledge, because
Right.
when it comes to beans, people become like, blindfolded, like, no, there's healing in it and I'll just do it. No. It's first tie a camel and then do it.
Right. So, Sister Zara, what was the last sentence you said? I couldn't
I
hear
said,
you.
like, in beans, it's not being blindfolded, like there is shifa in it. Yes, there
Yeah.
is shifa in it, but there is a way of doing everything. So how in the Islam we say, first tie your camel, right?
Exactly. Yes.
First,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So tie your camel, that is, get yourself assessed, take all the precautions, and then go ahead.
Yeah. Right. So inshallah, I think if you ladies are interested, we can do a hijama session separately next time. And we're going to wrap up this session. So every one of you is welcome to share your questions on WhatsApp. And I will be sharing all the details there, inshallah, in a couple of minutes. So, Jazakallah khairan. It was an enlightening question and answer session. So I hope to see you in the next webinars, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. As-salama. Shukran.